Hari Om. Starting with invocation, let us chant from verses 51 to 55 of Atma Bodha. Pratah smarami hridi samspuradatma tattvam Sache sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yasvapna jagara sushuptamaveti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sangaha Bahya nitya sukha saktim Hitvatma sukha nirvritaha Ghatastha deepavat swasthaha Svantareva prakashate Upadhisthopi tadharmaihi Alipto vyomhavan munihi Sarva vimudhavatishte Asakto vahyuvaccharet Upadhi vilayad Vishnau Nirvishesham Vishen Munihi Jale Jalam Viyadyognihi Tejas Tejasi Vayatha Yallabhana paro labhaha Yat sukhana param sukham Yajnanana param jnanam Tad brahmyetyavadharayet Yad drishtva na param drishyam Yad bhutva na punarbhavaha Yajñatva na param jneyam Tad brahmyetyavadharayet.
Pratasmarami hridi samspuradatmatattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yat swapna jagara sushuptama vedi nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sangha. We continue from verse number 51 onwards.
Bahya nitya sukha saktim Hitvatma sukha nirvritaha Ghatastha deepa basvastaha Svantareva prakashate Bahya nitya sukha saktim Hitvatma sukha nirvritaha Ghatastha deepa basvastaha Svantareva prakashate.
Having relinquished attachment to transitory external joys, the one contented with the bliss of Atman, self, shines within like a light placed in a jar. Having relinquished attachment to transitory external joys, the one contented with the bliss of Atman self shines within like a light placed in a jar. Now he is continuing the idea Previous verse, if you remember, he spoke about Atma Ramaha, the person who is contented. He spoke about that person. Now, he is giving a contrasting experiences of Sukham. The two Sukham that the human being experiences. He is giving that comparison. Further reinforcing that Atma Rama. Who is that Atma Rama? Who is that one? Who is that contented one? Who is that enlightened one? He's continuing the study. To continue that study, what he is doing is he is drawing a contrast. He is drawing a contrast between the two types of joys. The worldly joys and the bliss of the self. What you can call as Vishaya Sukham and Atma Sukham. The ephemeral Atma Sukham is the joy from the self. Vishaya Sukham is the joys from the world. So he is doing a contrast. What is the external world? What is joy from the world? We'll see the Atma, we'll see the Vishaya Sukham first, and then we'll move on to Atma Sukham. Till we gain clarity in the knowledge and negate the Vishaya Sukham, Atma Sukham you cannot have. You cannot have both the joys parallelly. You cannot have Vishaya Sukham and Atma Sukham together. So, 1 plus 1, 2, no 2. So our joys are better than the enlightened person joys, no? Because at least the enlightened person has only one joy, Atma Sukham. Here, if I can have both the joy, what? Atma Sukham as well as the Vishaya Sukham, my quantity of joy is more, no? For which he says, no, it is not. It is not like that. You cannot have both together. Through knowledge and understanding, you negate the Vishaya Sukham entirely, completely, and established in and you can get established in Atma Sukham. So never try for both. Class I will get Atma Sukham. After the class is over, I'll get Vedanta class lend Atma Sukham, Netflix lend Vishaya Sukham. You cannot get it like that. Negating that, you get this. So that is the premises, that is the fundamental understanding with which we have to proceed. Now what he is saying is, what is the contrast? What is the Vishaya Sukham that we have to negate? That Vishaya Sukham is what? A Sukham that is arising out of contact with the external world. That is Vishaya Sukham. A Sukham that comes out of contact is Vishaya Sukham. A Sukham that comes from the self is Atma Sukham. Venkat, just keep chanting a few verses. I'll just come and join back in 2 minutes.
Okay, right. Okay.
I'm signing out and I'll come back in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Sign out பண்ணாதீங்க சார்.
என்ன
சார் பெட்டர் sign out பண்ண தேவையில்லை வெளியே.
बाह्या नित्य सुखा Muktim Hitvatmasukhanirvrithaha Ghatastadipavasvasthaha Swantareva prakashate. Upadhistopi dharmaihi alipto vyomavan munihi sarva vimudhavatishtet asakto vayuvaccharet. Upadhi vilayad Vishnau nirvishesham vishen munihi jale jalam viyadyomnihi tejas tejasi vayatha yallabhana param labham Yatsukhana param sukham Yajnana param jnanam Tad brahmyetyavadharayet Yad drishtva param drishyam Yad bhutva na punarbhavaha Yajñātvā na param jñeyam tad brahmyetyavadharayet.
I was talking about the two types of joys, the Vishaya Sukham and Atma Sukham. The Vishaya Sukham is that which you get out of, the Vishaya Sukham is that which you get from the contact with the world. That is the Vishaya Sukham, which he calls as the attachment to transitory external joys. The other one is Atma Sukham. And a human being cannot have both together. You cannot have both together. It is always the one. Through knowledge and understanding, we negate the external transitory joys, and Atma Ramaha, connected to the previous verse, we find the joy in the self. What is the contrast between the Atma Sukham and the Vishaya Sukham? Like a flowchart, you can put LHS, RHS. Left hand side, Vishaya Sukham. RHS, Atma Sukham. It becomes easy for Manana. Now, What is Vishaya Sukham? The joy from the world, the joys of the world. Number one, it is through contact. A joy that comes from contact. Sparshaha. Matrar sparshastu kaunteya. In the Gita we have seen this. Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha. Again we saw in the Bhagavad Gita. He uses the word sparsha. Sparsha means contact. A fleeting contact is enough. Sparsha means a fleeting contact. Not sitting and associating together. It's not like that. Sparsha means just a passing, fleeting contact is enough. Just a passing glance is enough for the senses to get carried away by the word sparsha. So first thing is Vishaya Sukham is what? It is joy from the external. It is joy from the external world. External world means objects and beings. First. Second thing is it is totally dependent on that object and being. Vishaya Sukham is entirely dependent on the object and being, meaning availability is there is joy. Non-availability, there is sorrow, pain. First is sparsha, contact. Second is it is entirely dependent upon the object. Since it is entirely dependent upon the object, what is the nature of the object? The nature of the object is unpredictable, unsustainable, uncontrollable. The nature of the world. The nature of the world, the nature of the objects and beings that you are associating with, how much ever you think they are under your control, how much ever you think you got everything under your control, the Vishayaha can never be under your control. The Vishayaha means the external world of objects and beings can never be under your control. Why? For if you understand the nature of it, you understand that how it is not controllable. What is the nature of the Vishaya? What is the nature of the external world of objects and beings? They are unpredictable, unsustainable, and uncontrollable. Again, I repeat, unpredictable, unsustainable, and uncontrollable. Now you connect. You depend. Your happiness is dependent on the world which is unpredictable, uncontrollable, unsustainable. What will be the quality of your happiness? Forget about the quality of your happiness. What would be the very quality of your life? It will be one of worry, anxiety, stress, and strain. Having the symptoms of, you will be constantly having the symptoms of the diseases, the five symptoms. Why? Because your joy is dependent on the sparsha, and you are entirely dependent on the object and being, and those objects and beings are unpredictable, unsustainable, uncontrollable. How much ever I want to control the children, they don't come under control. How much ever the children wants to control the parents don't come under the control. Yeah. The children wants to control, the parents wants to control the children at one stage in life, and the children wants to control the parent in another stage in life. Both are, when the parent tries on the children is uncontrollable. When the children is trying on the parent, That person has turned 75, 80, sir. He's saying, I will not come to the hospital. What do I do? சொன்ன பேச்சை கேட்க மாட்டேன்றாங்க. What do I do? Here, exactly what you did when your father did 40 years back, 50 years back, exactly the same thing. You didn't listen, but he put up with you. Similarly, he will not listen. You put up. Where is the difficulty? Yeah, there's no problem at all, but uncontrollable. The relationships you cannot control. The other human beings you cannot control. The nature you cannot control, and yet the happiness is entirely dependent upon these factors. This is called Vishaya Sukham. Ellam Vishaya Sukhathil varudhudalla. Lastly is, again the Sukham is dependent upon the fructification, the result. One is the contact. Another kind of Sukham is when you get the results. Vishaya Sukham is of two. One is through the sparshaha, another is through the phala. Sparsha gives one joy, phala, the fruit, the result gives another joy. Okay, sparsha lalla, I don't worry that much, sir, but result must come in the way that the results of my actions, the results of my effort must come in the way that I expect or want or anything. Now he says, even that happiness is not under your control. The doer doesn't determine the result. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Ma karma palahetur bhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. You are right. Your adhikara is in karmani eva. Karma eva adhikara. Adhikara means right. Your control, your right is only over your adhikara. Means what? Adhikara means, even the Tamil word adhikara means the same meaning. It's the same meaning. Karmani eva adhikara. Adhikara means your right, your control is over action only, not on the result. Ma paleshu kadachana, never on the result. Means what he is saying. That is why even that Sukham is difficult to accept, to digest. What is that Sukham? The Sukham that you are expecting out of the result. You may not expect a result out of the contact, but you want a happiness out of a result. Here he says, the sparsha sukha is also unpredictable, uncontrollable, unsustainable. The sukha out of a phala, the sukha out of the result is also uncontrollable, unsustainable, unpredictable. Yeah. Sustained profit. How is it possible? Sustained action is profit. Sustained action is possible. Profit and loss? Profit and loss is the reality. Sustained action, sustained profit, sir. Are you able to follow? See, if I am doing sustained actions, what should naturally come? Sustained profit. Now, you do sustained action, but profit and loss may come, and you will never know whether profit is going to come or loss are going to come. If you are dependent on that, what will be your mental state? Instead of Atma Rama, you will be Anatma Rama. Previous verse is Atma Rama. Instead of being Atma Rama, you won't be an Atma Rama. It will be a Anatmarama. Anatmarama means joys dependent on sparsha and joys dependent on phala. When you understand it like this, what happens? When you understand the Vishaya Sukha in the way that we described, what will happen to you? What you will understand? You will understand that there is no point getting attached or dependent or expecting a joy from the world. It is ephemeral. Though we experience that it is ephemeral, the hope comes and somehow tries to keep it permanent. It's the hope. Though we understand it as ephemeral, the hope always comes and tries to keep the ephemeral transient joy as a permanent. Bahya anitya sukham asaktim hatva. Now I am getting into the verse. First we gave the basic formula. What is the basic formula? The contrast between Vishaya Sukham and Atma Sukham. Now Atma Sukham we understand it very clearly. What is the Atma Sukham? Atma Sukham comes when you understand the fleeting, temporary nature of this and you have the conviction to let go of it. When you have the courage and conviction to let go of it, and then you come here, the Atma Sukham, you enjoy that. This is the contrast. Now we'll go into the verse and see what he is saying in the verse in connection to what we have already discussed. So first what he is saying is Bahya Anitya Sukha Asaktihi. Bahya means external. External is a reference to extroverts. Bahirmukha, Antarmukha. Bahirmukha is extroverted, Antarmukha is introverted. In the Lalita Sahasranam also he says, Bahirmukha don't get the darshan of the goddess. Antarmukha alone gets the vision. So this Bahirmukha, Bahyaha, why I am giving all this is, Bahyaha means external. External is a reference to extrovert. External means where the attention is outside, extrovert. An extrovert mind seeks pleasure in sense objects. An extrovert mind seeks pleasure, happiness, peace in sense objects. An extrovert mind seeks pleasure, happiness from the result of the results of the action. This is an extrovert. As long as you are alive, the senses has to contact the sense objects. You cannot shut all the five senses. As long as you are alive, contact with the world will continue to happen. Then what is the difference? The difference is your sukham doesn't come from your sukham, or happiness doesn't arise out of the contact. Asaktihi, that's the word here he uses. Bahya nitya, Bahya anitya sukham asaktihi. Asaktihi means you are not reliant on that. Now, there is so much of reliance on the external world. Not only that, you cannot imagine life without that. You cannot imagine life without that. How much ever we hear and we understand and all that, still we cannot imagine life without. This is called saktaha, attachment. Asaktaha means not attached. What are you not attached to? Bahyaha anitya sukham. This bahyaha is anitya sukham. So what are they cautioning? The caution is not about the contact. The caution is about your dependency or your reliance on that. The modern day terminology for this dependency, reliance, cannot live life without that. All this in one word. The modern day terminology is addiction. Addiction. The addiction to the external world is so much. The addiction. And who is the one who is addict? We have seen, no? At least in movies we have seen. In everybody's family, there will be one or two persons always. There may be in the immediate circle or in the first circle, a fellow addicted to something, and how much ever you take the person out of it, how much ever you substitute it, how much ever you transplant the person from one part of the globe to other part of the globe, ennallam try panna kuda, ultimately what will happen? Addiction. The addiction continues. So, in the modern day terminology, what is dependency means in addiction? Addiction means cannot imagine life without that. Dependency means, addiction means your entire investment is on that one object or two objects. Your entire emotional investment is on one or two beings. And you find everybody has that few beings. And whatever happens to them, happens to you. And what is that few beings? What is that few beings? That few objects? Beings in a very clear, straightforward. Family, children. That's all. The entire emotional investment is around them. Meaning, it is so dependent on them. An extroverted person will do this. Because of him doing this, what is the consequence of that? What is the consequence of you having developed this kind of an excessive dependency? If it is there, happiness. If it is not there, misery. It is there, but someone else is possessing it. More misery, jealous, anger, frustration, all kinds of things starts. And then a joy comes when the other person loses it. A joy comes when the other person goes through a suffering. Karma, sir, correct. Now I believe in karma. Why? Because the other person is going through a pain and suffering. This is bahya sparsha sukha anitya sukham. Anitya Sukham. He doesn't use the word sparsha here. Bahya means extrovert sparsha. Bahya Anitya Sukham Asaktim Hatva. Hatva means relinquished. Moharnavaham Hatva. Hatva means killed, destroyed, relinquished. Hatva means killed, destroyed, relinquished. What do you relinquish? By understanding all this as beautiful word. Anitya Sukham. Please understand, he is not calling it as imaginary joy. He is calling it as temporary joy. He is not calling it as imaginary joys. He is calling it as Anitya Sukham. There is a world of difference between imaginary joy and temporary joy. So, what is he saying here? Jnani refuses to be obsessed. A jnani is one who refuses to get addicted. Jnani is one, a wise one. Jnani means, I'm using jnani in a very liberal sense. A jnani, an enlightened one, refuses to be obsessed with external happiness. A jnani refuses to get addicted to any form of external happiness. He refuses. He refuses to get addicted. Why he refused to get addicted? Because he has this. Because he has this knowledge. Matra sparshasta kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkadaha agamapayino nityaha tam titikshasva Bharata. Chapter 2. Again, he talks about it in a different way by calling it as Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkayonaya evate Adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha. Another verse, beautiful. All these verses from Bhagavad Gita. One is matras parshas. Idallam formula. Why I am repeating these verses again and again and again? Because these verses are the formulas. And these verses should be, the meaning of the verses should be, at least you should have memorized the meanings by now. Now, memorize pannada manana becomes easier. Onnuthukkum system ukkandu open pannindaka, there is no onnuthukku. If I am opening the book and cross checking na, it doesn't help. It has to be memorized. What is that? Ehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkayonaya evate. Adyantavanta kaunteya. Why I am repeating all these verses? Because ipodan idella mudichom. In the chapter, sir, don't ask. Adyantavanta kaunteya. You can't ask in which chapter this is. Just now we finished. They have a beginning, and they have an end. Adyantavanta kaunteya. And then he says, Matra sparshaastu kaunteya Sitoshna Sukadukkadaha Agamapayinaha Anityaha. At least remember these two words, Agamapayinaha and Anityaha. Agamapayinaha means they come and go. Anityaha means they are temporary. But sir, love is permanent, no? But sir, okay, this is temporary, but there are some permanent things also in life, no? The entire world is of these two only. Agamapayinaha, Anityaha. Knowledge gives you the courage to accept it. Knowledge gives you the courage to face it fearlessly. Able to follow. Opposite of that is you will not be able to accept it. You will not be able to follow it. So what is it? Bahya sparsha sukha asaktim. Then comes the next one. Atma sukha nirvritaha. Contented with bliss of Atman. Contented with bliss of Atman, we call it as Atma Ramaha. Contented with the bliss of Atman. There is the old Sanskrit saying, the external world, what you get from the external world seems to make you strong. It has an appearance of making you believe that you have, making you believe that you are strong. But then it is like the mango branch, he says. It's like the tree, the mango branch. I don't know if you have trees, you'll understand the difference. See, there is the tamarind tree branch and then there is the mango tree branch. From outside, what looks strong? Anybody who had tree nowadays we don't have all that, no? Of the two, which looks strong? The tamarind tree also has a branch. The mango tree also has a branch. What looks strong? The mango tree appears to be strong, but you know it is the weak. You sit on that, it will break. It appears to be strong, but it appears to be strong, but it is weak. The support of the external world is like this. It makes you believe that you are strong. It makes you believe that you are safe and secure because of the appearance of the mango branch. And tamarind tree you would have seen, no? At least now it is very difficult to see. Previously, you can see if you are driving down the countryside, both the sides of the road, it will be only full of tamarind trees, and you see the branches, they are so slender. Oh my God, it is so Atma Sukham and the worldly Sukham, the joy that you get from the world and the joy that you get from the self. A wise person will not lean on a mango branch. The wise person will hold on to the tamarind tree branch. That's all he said. The wise one. He doesn't lean on them. He doesn't derive his strength and support from them. That's what it means. Hatva. Hitva. Hitva is from the Sanskrit word Hatva. Now, Hitva means he doesn't rely on them. He doesn't lean on them. He doesn't depend on them, for thus he is not supported by that. Remember Swamiji's example, the loss of a pen, the loss of a wristwatch, the loss of the car, the loss of the house, the loss of the family. Somewhere it has to come and support you. Upon what you feel you are? What is it that is supporting you? that determines your weakness. Whatever you think is supporting you is that which you are, is that which is your weakness. I have enough bank balance, therefore I am safe. That bank balance is your weakness. I have done some good karma, sir, and that good karma will protect me. Blinding darkness. Upanishad calls it as blinding darkness. That will become your weakness. I have a good family and set of friends, sir. I may not have wealth, but I have very good set of family and friends. Depending on them is your weakness. Vedanta, Shankaracharya is saying, associate with them, interact with them, enjoy their company, yogaratova, bhogaratova. Enjoy their company, enjoy their association, enjoy their presence. You do everything, but you are not leaning on them. You don't lean on them. You are not looking at anything for the support. Support means that which gives you mental stability. Support means support for what? If it is there, you are mentally all right. If it is not there, you are devastated. So, support means that which gives you a mental stability. Support means that which gives you a mental strength, a mental stability. Atma Ramaha. Here, the joy is from the reliance on the self. The joy, the happiness is not supported leaning on any object or being, but it is from the self. It is from the self. Atma Sukham Nirvritaha. Meaning what? Satisfied, contented, fulfilled, because you have reached your natural status. Atma Sukham is a natural, there is a peace, there is a contentment, because you have reached your Atma Sukham is your natural status. That being your natural status, you get there, you are perfectly all right. Remember the example, coiled spring. There is the 4 feet spring, press it to 1 feet, release it to 2 feet, release it to 3 feet, 4 feet. I'm not going into the details of these examples because we all know these examples, memorized by now. At least I'm assuming that these examples are memorized. The example of the coiled spring. A 4 feet spring is compressed to 1 feet. There is a pressure. Release it to 2 feet, there is still pressure. Release it to 3 feet, there is still pressure. 4 feet, no pressure, because it has reached its natural status, it has reached its original status. Now, how do you get to that original status? In this comparing and contrasting, the method to get to the original status is also implied. What is the method? How much ever you are able to negate the worldly leanings and assert your own self, to that extent you are growing. Are you able to follow? To how much ever you are able to how much are you able to associate with the higher? In order to associate with the higher, the lower has to be negated. You cannot keep continuous association with the lower and expect you to grow. You have to detach yourself from the lower. So the method is also given here. Also an indication is given as to the means of experiencing that supreme bliss. And then finally, I'll come to the example. Gatastha Deepavat. Gatastha Deepavat means like a light in a jar. Swastaha. Swastaha. Introverted. Swantaha. Inwardly. Both means the same. Swastaha. All these words I am reading from the versa. It's all in verse number 51. Atmabodhalayandam padikren the words allam. All these are here. Swastaha. Introverted. Bahyaha as in compared to the extroverted. Now the comparison is to the introverted. Bahya, the swastaha, the introverted. Swantaha, inwardly. What is going inwardly means? You understand the world is temporary, but you don't reflect on it so deeply to convince yourself. You understand the world is temporary. You understand the world is transient. You understand the world is fleeting, passing. All that is understood. But but this understanding is so shallow. This understanding is so superficial. Smashana Vairagya, Prasava Vairagya, Purana Vairagya, and Jnana Vairagya. Vairagyam itself is discussed like this. One is Smashana Vairagya. Smashana Vairagya, you understand. What does Smashana Vairagya means? See, when there is the death of the near and dear, suddenly life looks so. Suddenly life becomes so empty. Suddenly life looks so futile, so meaningless. Everything is there, but only for a few days or for a few weeks. After that, the world that is left is taken back. Shankaracharya says as Smashana Vairagya. Smashana Vairagya means burial ground Vairagya. Smashana Vairagya. Suddenly life becomes so meaningless. Second Vairagya is Prasava Vairagya. Prasava Vairagya means when the woman goes through the pain of the childbirth, she tells herself that no more of this pain, no more of this pain, no more of this pain. She tells herself that third month she is ready for the next. The third one is Purana Vairagya. Purana Vairagya means we are all familiar with Purana Vairagya. Yeah. Purana Vairagya na class Vairagya nartham. What is class Vairagya? Purana Vairagya. As long as the class is there, Vairagya is there. The moment we say, we will continue to meet next week, na? Vairagya also takes a weekly break. The Vairagya also takes a weekly break and it comes back only when we start next session. What? Pratha Smaramin Aram Chaka. Again, this is called Purana Vairagya. You hear a motivating lecture, you hear an inspiring lecture, it is so much there. But then what happens? It is so fleeting, it is so temporary that you want to get back to. The mind naturally gets back to the world that which it has understood it as. That which the mind understood it as futile, it goes back to that. That which the mind understood as futile, it goes back to that. It goes back to that. Why? Because you are not yet grounded in knowledge. It means that much of manana is required. That much of reflection is required. What is that reflection? Agamapayinaha anityaha. Agamapayinaha anityaha. Agamapayinaha means they come and go. Anitya means temporary. A person who turns introvert in the way that we are discussing now becomes a healthy person. Psychologically, he is healthy. He's a healthy person. Psychologically, an introvert is a healthy person psychologically. And extroverted have a psychological. Extrovert means a psychological disease it is. Unhealthy state. Extroversion is an unhealthy mental state. Extroversion is a unhealthy psychological diseased state. The difficulty is people don't understand it like this. The difficulty is it is not understood as an unhealthy diseased state. Rather than it is seen as a very, not only it is seen as unhealthy, it is seen as something that is very, that which gives you strength, that which gives you protection. Swantareva prakashate gatastha deepaha. This gatastha deepaha, this deepa. See, till now, 5 times he has given this example. 5 times I'm just arbitrarily saying. The same example, quite a few times it has come in Atma Bodha. It will come back again. What is the deepa? A light is needed for illumining the jar, but to see the light, no other light is required. Gatastha deepaha. Gatastha deepaha means light in the jar. What does light in the jar means? You understand that a few comparisons. The first comparison is what? A jnani, an enlightened one, is like the light inside the lamp. Light inside the lamp means the mind held within himself does not seek anything outside. That is the first comparison. The second comparison is, what is the nature of light? A light is needed to illumine everything, but what illumines the light? This is the Upanishadic question. What is it that illumines the light? Light illumines everything, but what illumines the light? The light illumines itself and illumines everything around. Therefore, it has 2 properties. What are the properties? It is self-illumining. At the same time, it illumines the objects around. The objects are dependent on the illuminator. The illuminator doesn't need the object. The illuminator doesn't need the object. The objects need the illuminator. The illuminator doesn't need the object. Just as objects need light, but light doesn't need any object. Katastha deepaha. Equipments are useful to experience the world, but for experiencing the self, no equipment is necessary. Senses are required to experience the sense objects. If the senses are not there, if the equipment called sense organs is not there, the sense objects cannot be experienced. If mind as an equipment, as an instrument is not there, emotions cannot be experienced. If intellect as an instrument, equipment is not there, the world of thoughts and ideas and ideologies cannot be experienced. Therefore, human equipments are useful. Human equipments are a must. Human equipments are useful only for experiencing the world which is of the nature of agamapayinaha anityaha. Adalla within brackets. All that is within brackets, you have to put it within brackets. So the equipments, the instruments are needed to contact to experience the objects, respective objects. To experience the self, no equipment is necessary. That is why it's called self-illumining. The sense objects are not self-illumining. For the sense organs are needed. Are you able to follow? The organs, the equipments, the instruments are needed to contact the world. To contact the self, to experience the self, what is not needed? No equipment is needed, no instrument is needed. Why? Because it is illumining itself. It is illumination. It illumines itself. Second example is, just as the confined to pot, the light does not come outside, the jnani's mind held within himself does not seek anything outside. Just as the lamp kept within the pot. Maybe they would have kept a lamp within the pot and all in those days. That's why he's giving all these examples. When the lamp is kept within the pot, what is confined? The light is confined to the pot as it were. Now, what is the comparison here? When a person goes introvert, when a person turns introvert, the mind is held within himself and does not seek anything outside. What does it mean? Shines within himself. Consciousness does not need anything to be conscious of. Maitreyi Brahmana, we have quoted this. Maitreyi asked Yajnavalkya. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Maitreyi, the wife, asks Yajnavalkya, the husband, this question. When all instruments are gone, minus the instruments, I can never have any knowledge of anything. So for me to have knowledge of anything, instruments are needed. When all instruments are gone, who will know what? You can ask these questions any number of times and these answers any number of times. It is so motivating, so inspiring it is. When all the instruments of knowing is gone, how will I know? My body is gone, mind is gone, intellect is gone. How will I know that I have realized the self? See, seeker will have this problem. We may not have this problem, but the genuine seeker has this dilemma. Then how I will know that? Yajnavalkya says, Swayam prakashate Atma. It knows itself by itself. It knows itself by itself. Maitreyi Consciousness does not need anything to be conscious of. The pure consciousness, the pure conscious principle doesn't need anything external to be conscious of. In worldly transactions, we always need something to be, conscious of. We are always dependent upon something. But upon what consciousness is dependent? Swayam prakashate. And Ramatirtha gives a beautiful example for this. The lady who is giving birth, who has become pregnant for the first time and not knowing childbirth anything, 7th month, 8th month in the advanced stage of pregnancy, she is falling asleep. And she tells the mother before going to sleep, in case if my child is born while I am fast asleep, wake me up, for I want to see the birth of my child. What does the mother say? What did the mother say? Mother said, don't worry, go off to sleep. When the time comes, you will be awake. Not only you will be awake, you will keep the entire town also awake. Not only you will be awake, you will keep the entire town also awake. Swayam prakashate. Beautiful examples. The comparison between the bahya sparsha and the comparison between the extroverted state and the introverted state. Extroverted meaning leaning on an external support is what is known as extrovert. Introvert means you are not dependent on any external support. That's what introvert means. I have said this any number of times. Don't look at the English dictionary of extrovert and introvert now. Yeah, we are using it in a unique sense here. If you look at the English dictionary today for the introvert and extrovert, extroverts are dynamic, successful, looks like Vedantin. Introverts are all diseased people. And we are saying it in exactly, we are using it in the exactly opposite sense. We are saying the extroverts are diseased, the introverts are healthy. English dictionary says extroverts are healthy, introverts are unhealthy. Now you have a choice to follow. Either you can take the English dictionary and follow, or you can take the Vedanta dictionary and follow. But never make the mistake of combining. Never make the mistake of combining both. You can't serve two masters at the same time. Shankar, correct? Huh? Shankar only told me this. He only said, you can't serve two masters at the same time, sir. I said, oh, Abdiya, where did you hear this, Shankar? I asked him. Where did you hear this? He gave me a discourse the other day. You should not serve two masters at the same time. You can't be an extrovert and introvert. Either you are an extrovert or an introvert. And the entire knowledge and analysis and the Shravana, the Manana, Karma Yoga is all that is aimed at what? From extroversion to introversion. From extroverted state to an introverted state. Again, I am defining. Introversion means not leaning on anything outside. Yeah. Oh, I have this nice and soft back cushion, no? Leaning on this. Yeah. This is called, if Dukandrinda, this is called leaning on this. Now, what is it called? No backbone, weak, dependent, extrovert. I sit erect and not leaning on anything means I am standing on my strength. Introvert means you stand on your strength. Your strength means not through the body, not through the mind, not through the intellect. Your strength means not what you get through your body, mind, intellect. For the body, mind, intellect is by nature, the body, mind, intellect will be leaning on the external world. And when it leans on the external world, it is so deluded. What is the delusion? That which is intrinsically weak but appears to be strong, it goes and leans on that. That which is intrinsically weak but appears to be strong, the body, mind, intellect equipment will go and lean on that. What is that? Example, mango branch. Yeah. Different from that mango branch is the tamarind tree branch. Tamarind tree. சும்மா அப்படி பிடிச்சி தொங்குனாலே the mango tree branch will break. You can't break a tamarind tree. It is so strong. Yeah. That's why in those days they take they break it, and if they want to whip somebody, they use that stick only to whip, because you get one hit, it will stay with you for Malaysia, Middle East along not that strong hit, because they only say, if they hit it there 6 months, 1 year, the mark will be there. This is the leaning. But from outside, if you look at it, it is the mango branch appears to be strong than the tamarind branch. It appears. So who is an extrovert? An extrovert is one who is carried away by appearances. Who is an extrovert now? An extrovert is one who is carried away by appearances. Who is an introvert? Because of understanding agamapayinaha anityaha, he has become self-sufficient, strong. That person is called an introvert. And this person is a healthy person. Psychologically, spiritually, psychologically, he is healthy. The other person is weak. So, to summarize the verse, LHS, RHS. To summarize the verse, LHS and RHS. What are the LHS, RHS? 2 types of bliss, 2 types of sukham, 2 types of happiness. What are the 2 types? Left hand side, Vishaya Sukham. Vishaya means objects and beings, the world. Right hand side, Atma Sukham, the bliss of your true nature. What is Vishaya Sukham? Unpredictable, unsustainable, uncontrollable. Unsustainable because of neutralization. We know that. Unsustainable because of neutralization. Unpredictable. Then is uncontrollable. That is the sukham that comes out of sparsha. And then there is another type of sukham. What is the other type of sukham? The sukham that comes out of the result, the phala, the fruit. Extroverted person is dependent upon the sparsha sukha and the sukha that comes out of the phala, the fruit, the result. he is not addicted to these two. He is not dependent on these two. He is not addicted. He is not dependent on these two. Atma Sukham. What is Atma Sukham? The joy that you derive, you don't even have to wait for self-realization to happen. The joy that you derive as you are getting more and more established in the path itself is an indicator. It's not that you have to wait for it's not that you have to wait for the bliss of realization to happen. Even as your dependency on the world starts reducing, you start experiencing a greater self-sufficiency. That greater self-sufficiency is the mental stability, is a state of ananda, a bliss. The body is affected, you say, I am, you say, I am not affected. The mind goes through the fluctuations. What are the fluctuations? Joy and sorrow. At times the mind is joyful. At times the mind is sorrowful. You disassociate from that. Intellect, ideas and ideologies. You disassociate again from that. Second is karma phala. Which karma is going to get fructified, you don't know. Papa, punya, you don't know. What is going to happen, you don't know. Karmanye vadikaraste mapaleshu kadachana. Verse number 46, 47, chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita. Karmanye vadikaraste mapaleshu kadachana ma karma pala heturbuhu mate sangostva karmani. Here is the one. The one here is having relinquished attachment to transitory external joys, contented with the bliss of Atman, shines within like a light placed in a jar, the one. Who is the one? The Jnani. The Jnani can be a person who is established in the spiritual path, can be one who is enlightened. It can be interpreted in both ways. And all through this session today, we interpreted in both ways. In fact, for all practical purposes, no point in discussing the enlightened man, for it is beyond, it is of no use. Okay, if you are an advanced spiritual practitioner, seeker, it will inspire you. But beyond a point, it doesn't of not much practical value. Then what is it helping you? When you draw this contrast, when you're drawing this comparing and contrasting, the means also must be included. We are not only glorifying the introverted state, we are not only glorifying the state of self-realization, the means also. The means means the path. How does one get there? What should one do to get there? Constantly keep negating. Constantly keep negating. Wherever you get a chance, associate with the higher, negate and assert. Negate and assert. Negate and assert. The association with the higher is called satsang. Negation is shravana manana. Are you able to follow? Negation is shravana manana. Association with the higher is satsang karma yoga. So, what is it that an extroverted must do? Shravana, manana, satsang, karma yoga. Bah, இவ்வளோ பண்ணணுமா சார்? So much has to be done. Why can't you make it? Why can't you give a simple formula? Simple formula is already given in Bhagavad Gita. Matra sparshaastu kaunteya sitoshna sukhadukkadaha agamapayino nityaha. The simplest formula. Tam titikshasva Bharata. That is the shift from extrovert to introvert. And the shift from extroversion to introversion is a huge shift. Shift of dependency. Underline it, that's all. It is not running away from the world. It is not letting go of the world. It is letting go of your dependency. And what is dependency? அது இல்லைன்னா இருக்கவே முடியாது சார்னா டிபெண்டன்சி. In English, without that I cannot live. This is called dependency. Without 3 meals a day I cannot live. Without my pillow I cannot sleep. So wherever I go, I have to carry my pillow also. Wherever I go, I have to carry a few things with me. Those few things that I carry with me is, even when you go for a morning walk, 10 fellows walk together. Yeah. From the balcony, I see the people keep walking. 10 fellows will walk together. Even there, you have to walk with a whole lot. The dependency. Extroverted state is dependent on the world. Introverted state is independent of the world. Example is Katastha Deepaha. Katastha Deepaha means like a light placed in a jar. The light placed in a jar, the light is, what is light placed in a jar means? The light is introverted there. Light doesn't spread out. Similarly, the jnani's mind doesn't go out. For manana, when you are sitting and reading this verse, for manana, refer verses 55, 56, 57, 58, chapter 2. Chapter 2, Sthita Prajna portion, 55, 56, 57, 58. These are the verses that you have to use for manana when you sit and read this verse. So, why I am giving all these references is, when you go back and forth, your manana is becoming, your reflection is stronger. More you reflect, more you become independent. With this, we conclude verse number 51. And we move on to verse number 52 in the next session. There are some questions, no? Venkatachalam. Is it answered, Venkatachalam? You have to unmute. I'm not able to hear you. Are you
Unmuted.
unmuted?
So my question is, in your life you have a selective detachment to many of the worldly objects and beings.
Venkatachalam, I'm finding it difficult to hear. I think your mic is When Venkat is speaking, I'm hearing it very clearly. I'm not able to hear you clearly.
It's not audible, Venkatachalam, sir.
Yeah. It's not audible at all. Venkat, உங்களுக்கு கூட அப்படிதான் இருக்குல்ல?
Ama, none of us.
Okay, okay.
So you got a
Sorry
question
about
from
that. I
Narayan.
think some problem with my iPad.
Yes, yes, correct. Yeah, yeah. Now it is correct. Now it is clear. Yes.
My question is, in our
Yes.
life, we have a selective detachment for
Yes.
many of the objects and beings.
Yes.
But still, because maybe the size of the attachment or the size or the objects, a number of objects and being so limited, we don't get that bliss. Is that the right understanding? Do we have to be detached across the board,
Yes.
all objects and beings, to even get a sense of it?
Yes. You have to be detached across the board. For your observation is right. Most of us are always attached to a few objects and a few beings. None of us are attached to too many objects and too many beings.
That's right.
It's always a few. And that few is that determines your dependency.
Okay.
So you have to be free from that few which is causing you dependency. So when we say across the board, means across that few over which you are dependent upon. Like Venkatachalam's circles of object, attachment to objects and beings will be very few. Arvindan's circle of attachment to objects and beings will be very, very few. So in relation to your object and being, I may look detached. In relation to my object and being, you may look detached. But the strength is determined by what? Identifying the few that you are attached to and freedom from that few.
Oh, freedom.
Everybody is attached only to a few. It never happens that all of us are attached to millions and thousands, thousands and millions. If it happens like that, our greed, our weakness can be easily understood. This is the delusion. But it is always a few. That one or two things makes us believe that we are not that dependent. We are perfectly all right. It is that attachment to the few that makes us so deluded in this belief. Is it okay, Venkatachalam? Yeah. Next question. Is there any other question?
Yes, sir. Narayan has got it.
Yeah.
Narayan, unmute yourself, please. Narayan, unmute yourself now.
Narayanji, read your question. No, I'm not able to get your question. I don't know where it is lost.
Sir, in Vishaya Sukham,
Yes.
doesn't Vishaya mean subject and not object world? But in the context, Vishaya means what you are explaining is world. So I'm just grammatical clarification I'm requiring.
Yeah. Vishaya means object.
Oh,
Vishaya-
not subject.
No, not the subject. Vishaya always means the object only.
Okay.
Yeah. Vishaya means the object.
Okay. In Hindi, Vishaya becomes subject, is it? In Sanskrit, it becomes object.
I don't know. Hindi, I'm not very. My Hindi, I am a proper hardcore Tamilian, so I don't know. Not one word in Hindi I know. So,
Okay. Yeah.
So Vishaya means object.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else, Venkat?
Yes, sir. Mohan has got a
Mohan.
question.
Mohan.
சார் வணக்கம் சார். சார்
மோகன்.
4 வைராகியம் சொன்னீங்க. அதுல நான் 4th one மிஸ் பண்ணிட்டேன். சம்ஷானா, பிரசவ, புராணா and 4th one மிஸ்
The
பண்ணிட்டேன்.
4 types of vairagya is smashana, burial ground vairagya, prasava vairagya means the childbirth vairagya, Purana Vairagya means Vairagya that we get from a motivational speeches. The fourth Vairagya is Jnana Vairagya. Jnana Vairagya is the fourth one. Like what Shankaracharya says in one of the hymns. Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham Bhiksham Dehi Cha Parvati, he says. He asks for goddess to give him Jnana Vairagya, not the first three Vairagya.
Okay.
Okay, Mohan, the fourth one?
Yeah, I got it, sir.
Yeah, Jnana Vairagya. Yes. Yeah, with this, we conclude the session today. We continue with verse number 52 onwards in the next session. Thank you.